This is the picturesque Wollombi Valley. It's a haven for many hobby farmers wanting to escape the bustle of city life. The Army wants a new base. If Crown land around the Singleton Army base is chosen, this could turn to this. About 200 residents and hobby farmers turned out in the tiny community hall to meet the Minister for Agriculture, Jack Hallam, to get assurances their land will not be affected. Mr Hallam told the crowd Singleton or Dubbo were the most likely sites, but the final decision rests with the federal government. Mr Hallam says no firm decision has yet been made, but the state government is keen to have the Army base somewhere in New South Wales at any cost.
Because it's the greatest decentralisation project this century. It means 550 homes will go to the town where the Army location is relocated. It means an investment of $100 million, and it means an annual increment to our economic vitality.
And the people came here because it was quiet, it was beautiful, it was a place where they could have a hobby farm and try a new way of life. And it'll be gone. They'll lose the life.
This afternoon, Newcastle and suburbs were again hit by an electrical storm. The damage was confined to minor roof damage and fallen trees. Last night, however, it was a different story. In many areas of Newcastle, including Windale, Gateshead and Charlestown, were without power overnight and into this morning. The townships of Singleton and Branksome were completely without power for about half an hour last night after lightning damaged their mains. Following last night's high winds and this afternoon's storm, the Shortland County Council says it expects power to be returned to all areas of Newcastle by tonight. They say, however, it will take the rest of the week to complete all repair work.
On paper, Maine doesn't look like the greatest musical around. Only the title song is well known, and the success of the original book and the Rosalind Russell movie have rather put the musical in the shade. But metropolitan players have turned Maine into a sparkling evening's entertainment that's only occasionally a bit ragged around the edges. With a cast of almost thousands, loads of costume changes and strong choreography from Amanda Helmers, the show always looks really bright and cheerful. But undoubtedly the show was made by Joan Southern's wonderfully warm performance as Madcap Maine, the irrepressible socialite who has to bring up her orphaned nephew. Whether showing a very clean pair of heels in a brisk dance number, hamming it up as a would-be actress, or singing a wistful ballad, Joan Southern looked every bit a star. And she had good support from the rest of the cast, particularly from delightful David Ferguson as the young Patrick, and from Graham Hands as her nephew when he'd grown up. And I also liked Melanie Fields, almost unrecognisable as the dowdy and addle-brained Agnes Gooch. Well, with all those things going for us, it looks as if director Julie Black has a hit on her hands.
Quarantine officers who feared an outbreak of Newcastle disease killed an estimated 1,500 pigeons and other birds in 3 states. Mr Hanson's birds, which he values at $120,000, were saved by a temporary restraining order he obtained that day from the Supreme Court. In a reserved judgment today, Mr Justice Wilcox said he was satisfied that none of Mr Hanson's birds was infected with the disease. He said raids had been planned for some weeks, and the decision by a senior quarantine officer to destroy the birds the same day was totally unreasonable. Later, outside the court, Mr Hanson said he was happy about the judge's ruling, and that justice had now prevailed.
What?
They certainly indicated they want a much bigger down payment. It represents 25% increase upon which, as I say, they could build I'm not prepared to say what they asked for, but it was substantially larger than the $12.50, but there's no reason at all why
the doctors should return to work and put their case to arbitration. He said the situation was not yet at a stalemate, but the ball was definitely in the doctor's court for the next move.
At the moment, both parties are in the centre of the ring. There's plenty of punches being thrown, and there's a lot of wind being made. But as far as I'm concerned, on Thursday or Friday, the matter will be before Mr Justice Mackin, and I hope that the Department of Health will be able to proceed further in discussions with the doctors about their arbitration claim.
The Minister was visiting Newcastle to hold press with Chief Executive Officer of the possible effect of the $90 million Raven Park Hospital proposal. During his visit, he opened the hospital's new nursery, the site of the original nursery had been redone.
Well, how well do you think the talks went last night? How confident are you of a successful outcome? Will the doctors accept your latest offer? What will be your next move if the doctors don't accept? Would you call this a Mexican standoff?
Business by themselves is just so much electronic circuit program. It's not useful when they're fed software in the program. Systems of how to do an amazing range of calculations. The building centre today and tomorrow, at home prospects of available software is on display. There are programs to handle legal analysis or solve problems. The builder has software that can simplify the lengthy process of estimation or draft complex information. Much of the software is available is being written software.
The quality of Australian software is at least the equal of anything that comes in from overseas. Very often the overseas software is very specialised and there's nothing equivalent in Australia. But for the most types of applications, the Australian software is at least the equal of the overseas counterpart.
Is there now really no function that you can't write a program for if you want to?
That's basically right. Virtually everyone can now afford some form of computer, and virtually everyone has a particular need. So even if the large computer companies don't develop a particular software program, a particular user would.
The centre was set up 3 years ago using funds from a grant provided by the Rockefeller Foundation. The selected applicants for the course are doctors from third world countries who come to Newcastle to undertake their Master of Medical Science. The first year of the 2-year course is spent at Royal Newcastle Hospital, studying the theory of epidemics, computing, behavioural science, statistics and designing a research project. The project must be pertinent to a health problem in each applicant's home country. In the second year of the course, students are required to return home to implement the project, where they receive on-site supervision from Newcastle staff once or twice during the 12-month period. The 8 students this year will be returning to China, Thailand, Indonesia and the Philippines.
We realised that all the time. We always knew if we'd win,
if we would have won the race, it would have been a fairy tale story. But unfortunately, our positive thing got a little bit mixed up with practical thinking that we'd win, if you know what I mean. And I think everybody was, well, I know some people are a little bit disappointed with our performance, but I can assure you we did the best we could.
You seem to have your bloke at the turn. You were full length in front of him at that stage of the race and appealing to go away from him.
Right, Lee, I'll never ever forget that. You know, that always lives in my mind. But what happened was we had 4,000 people yelling for America in the stands. We had the added pressure. We knew people at home were watching the race. And as soon as I hit the water, I just wanted to swim out of my mind, which I did for the first 50. And all of a sudden, you know, you get that last bit where the grand piano hits, and it was very painful to watch him swim by me. But I think that's where we lost the gold medal, where he swam by me then. So, but it was a valuable experience. I was only 18. I will go on now, and I've learnt from that. It won't happen again.
Do you think the Olympics should go open instead of this shamateurism that is on at the moment?
I'm not ashamed to say that I'm as professional as you can get at the moment. With the backing of the City Mutual Company, they've lessened my hours of work. They're actually paying me to go to the Olympics and Commonwealth Games, not only giving me time off, but paying me while I'm away. And I could go on forever what else they're giving me, but it's turned me into the most professional amateur, if you like, that you can have. And unfortunately, the way it is these days, it's the only way to go.
Well, it's the only way to be competitive, isn't it? Otherwise you do get left in the wake of the other swimmers.
We'll get asked questions forever, how come we're behind the Americans? And the answer is lack of money and lack of support. Then you'll find that we will catch up to the other nations and get back to where we were in the, as we were saying before, the Conrad's days, the Dawn Fraser days, which I believe we're slowly getting back towards.
Can we get back to those big days?
There's no doubt. I think there was a massive revival of swimming, especially in 1982 with the Commonwealth Games, where it's actually where the men.
Accident from Dudley Beach has served to highlight the seemingly inexcusable lack of action by authorities to keep sunbathers and vehicles apart. Because there's no sign of conflict, it seems it's quite legal to take a vehicle onto a beach like that. No one is more annoyed at the situation than the member for Charlestown, Richard Strait, who says he's been fighting for 12 years to get something done about it. The issue is complicated. While council can declare a beach a public place, Dudley Beach is actually privately owned by BHP. But Richard Strait says people should not be at risk while bureaucracy procrastinates.
Everybody, and I mean everybody, but I mean the police, all the multitude of government departments and the local government departments have all been trying it around amongst themselves, saying it can't be done. We even had one time a committee set up to review it because there were so many government departments in it. The easiest way to bring the bog down, and all the time this has been going on. Victoria's had a police vehicle that's
We'll deal more specifically with off-road vehicles, where they should and shouldn't go. But Mr. Page says police are already complaining that there's still one to enable them to take action.
And I must once again be critical of the police. They're once again saying they don't think it'll stand up, and so the regulations are held by them. I don't know whether they want a situation where they can get the people and charge them, then try them, and then hang them, because they seem to want some tremendous powers.
The ACT hasn't beaten Newcastle in a rep match for more than 30 years, but it looks like that may soon change. Without the steadying influence of opener and former Test player Rick McCosker, who's in Sydney on duty as a selector at the Windies New South Wales match, the Newcastle openers fell to pieces and lost 4 quick wickets. The pitch is an excellent batting wicket, and the only reason for the early collapse was a solid spell of bowling by ACT. The Newcastle batting seemed to be having trouble reading the ACT bowlers, and only Stockton's Chris Beattie, who scored 33, and Belmont's Alan Sharp, who top scored with a fine innings of 72, got on top of the bowling. For the ACT, there were 2 fine bowling performances. Paceman Mike Brady took 3 for 30, and leg spinner Graham Bush 3 for 36. Play resumes tomorrow at 10 o'clock.
100 junior riders from all over Australia and 4 from New Zealand entered for the national titles, with more than half so eliminated in the preliminary round. 48 starters faced the judge yesterday, but half of those failed to make the cut at the end of round 1. Chris Condon and Sue Small were forced into a jump-off after a tie.
Got pressure on now because she can afford...
Can't afford another rail down because I don't think her time would match it. So she's got to be careful if she leaves these two up. And that's it. She's really good performance. And the time was slow. It was 4 seconds slow, but she only had the one rail down.
Big smile.
But it was to be ladies' day in the long run.
She has every right to smile, Steve.
Oh, absolutely. A delighted smile.
The field for the Open title included most of Australia's best-known riders, and horseflesh worth many thousands of dollars. Such names as Vicky Roycroft, John Fay, Peter Kavanagh, Chris Muncaster, Gail Powell and many others made it one of the best fields in years. In the long run, no jump-off was necessary, as the Riverina's Ken Graham won with a clear round in the second, when the high senses brought many of the more fancy horses undone.
And then when he went to the west, that was his
This is going to be
major outing. Yep. Very good.
Hunky Dory with Di Dawson placed second.
Very well at Sydney Show in section 2, which is for B-grade horses, and then when he went to the west, that was his
This is going to be
major outing. Yep. Very good. Well, we've got one double.
The displays of horses that seem never ending, as the horses jump, dance and march. One of the most spectacular is the acrobatic horse act by Nathan Brothers, the Flying Golem.
hanging on by the heels.
But for grace and control, the dressage displays stole the show.
And whoops,
highlight of the
first.
evening was the display by Olympic and World Championship dressage medalist Jenny Lauren Clark, who captained the British equestrian team in the Los Angeles Olympics. Carpentry and joinery course, which started in February, built the house. Most students were taken straight from school and had no experience in building. For 2 days a week, over 36 weeks, 4 groups of 8 students, together with a teacher from the college, worked on the houses, with some assistance from bricklaying, plumbing and electrical pre-apprentice students from Newcastle and Maitland technical colleges. The houses were handed over to Mr. Dick Mills from the Housing Commission by Mr. Ken Grove, the college supervisor of building courses, and one of the students, Troy Crosdale. The houses were contracted for $35,000 each.
Champions of the North Sydney region, West Bennett Hills, signalled the end for the only hunter team still in all the stands. Patton lost the match by 19 runs to 7, but the score wasn't a fair indication of the two teams. In the first innings, the Sydney team led to a sizable lead after the Lambton batting collapsed. But in each of the 3 innings after this, Lambton outscored West Bennett Hills to draw level halfway through the game.
But after such a hard-fought comeback, Racing crumbled in its final innings to let their opponents off the hook and into the semi-finals early next month.